Real people, real confessions, the stories you weren't supposed to hear. Welcome to Beyond Reddit Stories. I was only in 6th grade when I learned how to forge a signature. Not for mischief, not for grades, just for food. I stole someone's identity to get free lunch every day. The craziest part, no one ever caught me. Not then, not now, and to this day, I still ask myself, was I really the villain, or just hungry? I wish I could tell you that I thought through the consequences, or that it was some bold, rebellious Robin Hood moment where I stood up against injustice. But the truth is, it was way more pathetic and kind of funny, in a deeply depressing sort of way. It started small. Our school had this system where you'd punch in your student ID on a keypad in the cafeteria line. Kids who qualified for free lunch just had a special code linked to their account. Most of us memorized our ID numbers the way you memorize your crush's class schedule subconsciously, obsessively, like it mattered more than anything else in the world. Now, there was this kid in my homeroom, Devin, tall, lanky, never talked much. He always sat at the back with a beat-up backpack and duct-taped sneakers. You know the type. The kind of kid who disappears in a crowd, even though he's right in front of you. He wasn't exactly popular or unpopular, just background noise to everyone else. But not to me. See, Devin had free lunch. And more importantly, Devin never ate lunch at school, ever. I don't know if he didn't like the food, or maybe he was embarrassed. Maybe he brought something from home or just waited till he got back. Either way, I noticed. And for some reason, hunger, desperation, or a complete and total lack of a moral compass, I memorized his student ID. It was ridiculously easy. One day, I stood behind him in the library line and just watched him log into the school computer. 4 numbers, that's all it took. He didn't even try to shield it. It burned into my brain instantly, like some sort of sinister magic trick. The next day, I walked into the lunch line with that number on my lips like it was a prayer. My own ID meant a full-price meal, $3. But Devin's that little 4-digit key was the golden ticket to a warm, free tray of mystery meat and mashed potatoes. I punched it in. The lady at the register didn't blink. The screen flashed green. I took my tray and walked to my seat, heart pounding like I'd just robbed a damn bank. And just like that, I got away with it. No alarms, no intercom call to the office, no adult suddenly grabbing my collar with a horrified gasp. Just me, a lukewarm meatball sub, and the taste of minor victory. I told myself it was a one-time thing. But you already know where this is going. One time became once a week, then twice, then every day. It wasn't even just about the food anymore. It became a ritual, a weird, sad little tradition. Devin wouldn't show up for lunch. I'd type in his ID, eat my fill, and walk away like nothing happened. It got so routine that I stopped feeling nervous. I started feeling entitled. And then it escalated. Because of course it did. Some genius administrator decided to upgrade the system to include suggested meal choices based on allergy info and student preferences, which meant, for a brief period, they started posting printed lunch reports in homeroom to let kids know their nutritional profiles. Yeah, seriously. So one day, Devin gets called to the front of the class and asked if he's been selecting the vegetarian options. He looks at the teacher, genuinely confused, and says, "I don't eat school lunch." The teacher frowns. "Well, according to the cafeteria records, you've had lunch here every day for 3 weeks." Cue that sinking, stomach-twisting moment of guilt I hadn't felt in days. He looked around the room, eyes scanning faces like maybe someone had made a mistake. I kept my eyes down, pretended to be really interested in the inside of my backpack. But the thing is, Devin didn't push it. He just shrugged, said, "Not me," and sat back down. No fight, no accusations, no who's been stealing my identity drama. He just let it go. And that should have been my wake-up call. It wasn't. Instead, I doubled down. If he wasn't going to call me out, why stop? If the school was too lazy to check, and Devin didn't care, then maybe it wasn't even a crime, right? That's the kind of twisted logic you develop when you're hungry, ashamed, and 12 years old. But the thing about crime, even the petty kind, is that it's never really victimless. Someone always pays. Sometimes, that someone is just too quiet to say anything. Things started to unravel in the spring. It was the week before state testing. and the school was buzzing with that mix of stressed-out teachers and sugar-high kids who thought a packet of number 2 pencils was a hall pass to chaos. Everyone was on edge, including me. I'd been using Devon's number for months at that point. I was practically on a first-name basis with the lunch lady. I had my usual seat near the back of the cafeteria where no one asked questions, where I could eat without being reminded I didn't belong. That day, I did what I always did, stepped into line, typed in Devon's number like muscle memory, and waited for the ding, but instead of green, the screen flashed red. Error. I tried again, slower this time, still red. The lunch lady frowned, looked at me, and asked, "You Devon?" I froze. "Yeah," I croaked, heart pounding so hard it drowned out the noise of the trays, the chairs, the entire room. She stared at me for a beat too long, then shook her head and handed me a milk. "System must be glitching," she said. "Go ahead." Relief washed over me like a cool breeze, but it was short-lived. Because the next morning, Devon wasn't in homeroom. And the day after that, he was still gone. I tried to act like it didn't matter, but something gnawed at me, an unease that made my skin itch. Maybe he was sick, maybe he was suspended, maybe someone figured it out and he was taking the fall. That thought made me want to puke. 3 days in, I finally asked one of his friends in the hallway, casually, like I wasn't spiraling inside. "Hey, you seen Devon?" The kid shrugged. "He's gone. Moved in with his aunt. I think his mom got in some kind of trouble with the school board. Something about fraud." Fraud? That word hit me like a slap. I wanted to believe it was a coincidence, that his mom had her own mess, unrelated to my juvenile scheme. But what if it wasn't? What if my quiet theft, my selfish, hungry little survival strategy, had lit a fuse I never meant to ignite? What if someone had finally audited the free lunch accounts, noticed the mismatch, and traced it back? Not to me, to him, to Devon, the quiet kid, the invisible kid, the one who never asked for anything and still lost everything. I stopped using his number after that. Cold turkey, went back to eating out of vending machines and pretending chips were a food group. My stomach growled louder, but my guilt screamed louder than that. I never told anyone. Not the teachers, not my friends, not Devon assuming I'd ever see him again. I kept it buried, like a fossil of some dumb, desperate kid I no longer wanted to be. But even now, years later, I can't walk past a school lunchroom without hearing that damn keypad beep in my ears. You know what's wild? I still remember his ID number. 4 digits, burned into my brain like a scar. I've done worse things since then. More subtle, less obvious. Stuff adults do all the time and call survival or just how the world works. I've lied on applications, fudged numbers to get into better programs, smiled at people I hated because I needed something from them. But nothing has ever haunted me like Devon. Because when you're a kid and you cross a line, you think it's just chalk on the pavement. You think if you step back, it'll wash away in the rain. You don't realize that some lines stick to you, that some names, some numbers you carry long after you've stopped using them. I sometimes wonder where he is now, whether he remembers those days, whether he knows someone else was walking around wearing his identity like a borrowed coat, whether he got blamed, or whether he ever got justice. I used to imagine bumping into him one day, maybe in a grocery store or something. I'd be the adult now, confident, taller, less scared. I'd walk up to him and say, "Hey, I owe you something." But how do you apologize for stealing not just food, but opportunity, for making someone else pay the cost of your hunger? And maybe more importantly, would he even care? Or am I the only one who still can't forget? I don't have a neat ending for this story. There's no moral to stitch onto a pillow, no punchline, just a memory, sharp as a lunch tray edge, dull as the ache in my stomach all those years ago. But I know this: sometimes the things we do when we're young don't stay in the past. They follow us, they whisper. And if we're lucky, they teach us something. Even if it's just that next time maybe we should ask for help before we take something that isn't ours. If this story made you pause, reflect, or just feel something you didn't expect, take a second to like the video, share it with someone who might relate, or leave a comment below. Maybe you've done something you've never told anyone. Maybe you've been on the other side of a story like this. Either way, we'd love to hear it. And if you want more real raw stories like this, hit that subscribe button. There's always another confession waiting just around the corner. Thanks for listening.